Hello students, I am Dr. Krupa Rasne, Professor and Head ENC Jain College of Engineering, Belgavi. Today we'll be looking into the 11th video of Module 3 in the subject of Power Electronics for the 7th semester ENC students VTU. We will be continuing with the same textbook, that is Mohammad H. Rashid, Power Electronic Circuits, Devices and Applications. Looking into today's video content, we will be looking today into the principle of phase control. Okay, with respect to inductive loads, in the previous video we have understood the principle of operation. In this video, we'll be looking into the performance parameters of AC voltage controller, followed by an example problem. So just to brief you, a single phase full wave AC voltage controller with RL load. In this case, we are looking into a circuit which has a fixed AC input and we have a variable output. The load consists of basically a R and L load. Okay. And the control is basically done using two anti-parallel SCRs or a single track. So the firing angle of T1 and T2 can be controlled, because of which the output load voltage will also be changing. So the two SCRs can be replaced by a track, as I just mentioned, and using desirable firing angle we can change the output voltage, AC output voltage or RMS output voltage. This is the waveform that we had discussed in our earlier video. Just brief you through with it. So we have got the input, which is a sinusoidal. During the positive half cycle, T1 gets forward biased and it is triggered at an angle of alpha. And this T1 is supposed to conduct from alpha to pi and hence carry the current till alpha to pi. But at pi it is supposed to stop conducting, but due to the inductive effect, the thyristor doesn't switch off at pi and continues to carry the current till beta, till the time the inductor is discharging all its charges. So T1 continues to conducts from alpha to beta, whereas T2, which is forward biased in the negative half cycle, conducts from pi plus alpha to your 2 pi plus beta. Okay, so this is how the conduction is going to happen. This need not be 2 pi plus beta, but the next beta, that would be an appropriate word. So in this waveform, this is the output voltage. We see that when T1 is conducting between alpha to beta, the T1 acts like a switch between the input and the load, and hence the load will be getting whatever is the output voltage during the switch on state, and hence it will follow the input waveform. Similarly, the switch T2 is closed between pi plus beta to the next beta, and hence this whatever is at the input at that instant of time, that comes at the output. So during the time when it is not conducting, right, that time the SCR, both the SCRs will be off and the load will not be connected to the input during these periods. So this is the waveform that we have seen across the SCR, and we see that when the switch is on, the voltage is 0 across the SCR, and which is the reverse in case of the load. And when the switch is off, there is a voltage equivalent to the input voltage, right? So whatever is the input voltage during this period, that will be coming across the thyristor, positive during the positive half cycle, negative during the negative half cycle. Now let us continue with the output voltage and how do we estimate the output voltage. So the RMS value of the output voltage and the load current may be varied by varying the triggering angle alpha. The load current waveform will appear as a full continuous sine wave, and the load current waveform lags behind the output sine wave by the load power factor angle phi. So the output load current can be discontinuous if beta is less than the next firing angle, that is pi plus alpha, or it could be continuous if beta is greater than pi plus alpha. So coming to the performance parameters, we'll be looking into the derivation to derive an expression for the output, that is inductive load current during omega t equal to alpha to beta, that is when thyristor T1 is conducting. Next, the expression for the output load current. We'll also be finding what is the thyristor conduction angle, and also to derive an expression for RMS output voltage V0 RMS of a single phase full wave AC voltage controller with the RL load. We'll also look into RMS output voltage V0 RMS and the output load power. We'll also look into input power factor and average and maximum thyristor current and RMS maximum RMS thyristor current. So these are basically the performance parameters. Let us look at them one by one. So the first one, the expression for the output load current. The expression for the output load current which flows through the thyristor during alpha to beta. So that expression can be got based on the impedance that is there at the output. So that is derived by I0 is equal to IT1 because this current is carried. For alpha to beta, the current is carried by T1. So I'll call it as IT1 and that same current also flows through the load. So that is nothing but Vm by Z into sine of omega t minus phi. Phi is the phase angle difference between the supply voltage and the load current as I have told you, and this is true for any inductive load, and minus sine of alpha minus phi e to the power of minus r by omega L omega t minus alpha, and this is true for for omega t between alpha to beta, or this is the time when the current flows through the thyristor T1. What is Vm? Vm is nothing but the peak value of the input voltage, which can be represented as root 2 Vs, and that is nothing but the maximum or peak value of the input supply voltage. Z is nothing but the impedance, that is the load impedance. In this case, we are not dealing with purely resistive, but we are also dealing with an inductive load, and hence the impedance is equal to root of R square plus omega L square. This is the load impedance. Phi is nothing but the phase angle, which is equal to tan inverse of omega L by R, and it's called as the load impedance angle or load power factor angle. Alpha is nothing but the thyristor trigger angle, which is nothing but the delay angle as well. So this is the expression that we have been looking into for the output load current. Next, we also are using the term beta, and we know what is beta. Beta is the extinction angle of thyristor value of omega t at which the thyristor or load current falls to 0. Beta can be calculated by solving the equation. This equation can be solved by putting I0 equal to 0, right? Because at beta and omega t equal to beta. So at omega t, I0 is going to be equal to 0. So we will be getting, if I substitute, I'll get sine of beta minus phi, which is equal to sine of alpha minus phi e to the power of minus r upon omega L into, again substitute omega t as beta, beta minus alpha. So we are trying to get the angle beta as well. So the conduction angle is given by delta equal to beta minus alpha. So maximum thyristor conduction angle delta is equal to beta minus alpha. We know it's just the time during which the thyristor conducts. So it has to be beta minus alpha. Beta is the end time, alpha is the starting time. And that is equal to pi radians or 180 degrees for alpha less than phi. Okay, this is the condition which holds good if the triggering angle is less than the phi. RMS output voltage is nothing but equal to Vm by root 2 under the root sign 1 by pi beta minus alpha plus sine 2 alpha by 2 minus sine 2 beta by 2. So this is the expression for the output RMS voltage. Now coming to the thyristor current. The thyristor average current. See, note that the current through the thyristor is unidirectional. Right? So only a positive current or unidirectional current flows through it. So definitely there will be a DC component current that is flowing through the thyristor. So which we call it as average thyristor current. So the average thyristor current can be evaluated as IT average equal to 1 upon 2 pi. The thyristor conducts from alpha to beta I of T1 into d omega t. So IT average is equal to 1 upon 2 pi integration between alpha to beta, and I will substitute the value I of t which we had written earlier, the expression for I of t, which is Vm by Z sine omega t minus alpha minus sine alpha minus phi e to the power of minus R by omega L omega t minus alpha in bracket into d omega t. Now when we integrate these, right, I'll be getting an expression. And maximum value of IT average, when will IT average be maximum? When alpha is going to be the 0. So the thyristors should have the maximum IT average is equal to Im by pi, where Im is equal to Vm by Z. So this is the maximum value of the thyristor current, and this is the average value of the thyristor current. Next, continuing with the performance parameters, let us look at the RMS thyristor current, IT RMS. So since we have a sinusoidal kind of an current flowing through the thyristor, we indeed will have an RMS value that of current flowing through the thyristor. So the RMS value can be evaluated as taking the root sine 1 upon 2 pi, evaluating alpha to beta IT1 squared d omega t. Again substitute IT1 squared into this particular thing, and you will be getting an expression for IT RMS. And the maximum value of IT RMS, of course, it is going to happen at alpha equal to 0. And hence this thyristor should be rated for maximum IT RMS equal to Im by 2. Okay. So when a triac is used in a single phase full wave AC voltage controller with RL type of load, then IT average will be 0. Note that the positive average value is nothing but the difference of positive area upon negative area. So if it is going to be an AC triac, the triac is going to carry both the positive as well as negative, unlike two anti-parallel SCRs which will carry current only in one direction. So you are going to have an average value current in thyristors when you are having two anti-parallel thyristors, but when you are having a triac, the average value is going to be 0 and the maximum value will be Im by root 2. So these are the two different values, ITRMS. In case of thyristors, it will be Im by 2. In case of triac, it's a single device, so it will be Im by root 2, ITRMS. Let us look at a problem that we are solving here. A single phase full wave AC voltage controller supplies an RL load. The input supply voltage is 230 volts RMS at 50 Hz. The load has L equal to 10 millihenry and R equal to 10 ohms. The delay angle of thyristor T1 and T2 are equal to alpha 1 plus alpha 2 pi by 3. Pi by 3 means 60 degrees. Determine the conduction angle of T1. Conduction angle is equal to beta minus alpha. Then RMS output voltage, we have derived it, we have the formula. Input power factor, and also we have to comment on the type of operation that we are looking into this. Okay. So what is given to you? Vs is given to you as 230 volts, F 50 Hertz, L value is given 10 millihenry, R is 10 ohms, and alpha is 60 degrees, and alpha 1 plus alpha 2 in radians it is pi by 3. So converting this Vm, we get equal to root 2 times Vs. So this is Vs converted, I get 325.269 volts. And impedance can be evaluated using the formula root of R squared plus omega L squared, which is equal to 10 squared plus omega L squared. So I will, to calculate omega L, omega is nothing but 2 pi F into L. 2 pi F is given as 50 Hertz into L. L is 10 milli. Milli means 10 to the power of minus 3. So I'll be getting equal to pi. So when I get this answer, it is 3.14. We know pi value is 3.14. Similarly, I can evaluate the z value by substituting 10 squared plus omega L square. Omega L I got it as pi. So whole squared, I'm getting z value as 10.4818. So they have asked what is the maximum value. Im equal to Vm by Z. We know Vm. Okay, Vm is root 2 into 230 divided by this 1048, 10.481, and I get the value of Im as 31.03179 amperes. Please evaluate it so that you can calculate the value of correctly when you are evaluating it. Okay. Next, we know that L is 10 millihenry and R is 10 ohms, and omega L we have evaluated as pi. So let us calculate the load impedance angle or phi. We know that load impedance angle or phi is equal to tan inverse of omega L by R. So substituting omega L as pi, I will be getting tan inverse of this value, which is equal to, so phi becomes equal to 17.4 degrees. Trigger angle alpha is greater than phi. Hence, the type of operation will be discontinuous. See, alpha has been given as 60 degrees. So we know now, looking at phi, it is 17.4. So we know that the trigger angle alpha is greater than phi. And if alpha is greater than phi, then the operation will be a discontinuous load current operation. And I am going to get beta, which will be less than pi plus alpha. Only if alpha is less than phi, the conduction angle will be pi. But since alpha is greater than phi, I will get beta, that is the angle omega or time at which the current becomes equal to 0, load current. So that value is less than pi plus alpha. So substituting pi as 180 and 60, I will get beta value as 240 degrees. Therefore, the beta is, range of beta is from 180, it cannot be before 80, it will stop only after pi. So 180 degrees to 240 degrees. So this is the range of beta. Next, extinction angle beta can be evaluated. Okay, we got the range now. Okay, so it is beyond 180 and before 240. So we have to exactly how much is beta. To evaluate that, we'll have to do certain iteration. Eta, I told you how to calculate beta, that is sine beta minus phi equal to sine alpha minus pi e to the power of minus r by omega L beta minus alpha in bracket. This expression I got by putting IT equal to 0 because at beta the current is equal to 0 in the IT equation. In the exponential term, the value of alpha and beta should be substituted in radians. Remember this. When I am substituting in the exponential, substitute it with radians. When I use a trigonometric function, then I use degrees. Otherwise, I use the radian function. Hence, sine of beta minus phi equal to sine of alpha minus phi e to the power of minus r by omega L, beta in radian. So alpha also in radian. So pi by 3. So that is 60, and this is alpha minus phi. If you see alpha minus phi, right, this term, you can see here, this term is equal to, it is in trigonometric. So 60 minus this value, I get 42. And sine of beta minus phi, sine of beta minus phi is equal to, I am substituting this sine of expression, right? Beta minus phi equal to sine of 42 into e to the power of r is 10 upon pi. Omega L is pi beta minus alpha. So solving for this expression, I'll be getting 0.6763 e to the power of minus 3.183 into beta minus alpha. 180 degrees is pi radians. So beta in radians, if you want to find, you should take the degree value of beta, multiply it with pi upon 180 degrees. So remember this, 180 degrees is pi radians. So if you want to convert any degree value to, put it here, cross multiply, and you will get it the value in either a degree or radian, whichever. So if you want radian, I will convert that degree value, whatever you know, into pi divided by 180. This is an expression that we should be aware of. So beta, now I'm going to assume, see it is above 180 degrees. So I start taking one by one value. I assume a value of 190 degrees. Okay. And convert it to a radian. So I'll be getting this radian value as 3.3161. Then I put this value 3 and in the left hand side and right hand side. In the left hand side I've got sine of beta minus alpha, that is 190 minus 5. 5 is 17.44. I'll get this expression, and in the right side, right hand expression, I have 0.67635 into e to the power of 3.183. I'll substitute beta with 3.3 minus pi by 3 radian because it has to be in radian. So I get the right hand equation as 4.94. Now see, the left hand equation I've got so much, the right hand side equation I've got so much. So obviously they are not matching. Okay. So next I will assume, okay, so the left hand side and right hand, I'll assume a value less than 190. So I'll take around 183. So I calculate in a similar fashion, convert it to radian. I get this expression, calculate beta minus alpha, right? And again verify with the left hand side with the right hand side. So again you will find that they are not matching. So next what I will do is I will take beta as 180 itself. And when I take beta as 180, I'll again check for the left hand side and right hand side matching. And I will see that left hand side I'm getting 0.299, right hand side I'm getting 8.60292. Okay. Next, so I've done the calculation for less than 190. Now I'll take for beta 196. Like that, it's an iterative process. You have to keep looking whether left hand side is greater than right hand side, and if not, can you go less beta for a lesser value or beta for a more value. So substitute likewise for 196. Look into the left hand side and the right hand side evaluation and decide whether your value should be increased. So next, again I have taken the value for 197 beta, and again evaluate the left hand side with the right hand side. You see there is still a difference between the left hand side and right hand side, and you can slightly increase this. Don't increase more because there is no much difference. So increase it by some value. And when you do this, you will realize that left hand side is equal to right hand side, almost equal to right hand side. If you want, you can further iterate, or you can even stop at this point of time. So what we have done is we have stopped and we have assumed that beta is 197.42 degrees and alpha we know as 60 degrees. With this, I will get the conduction angle is equal to beta minus alpha, which is 197.42 minus 60. So I got the conduction angle as 137.42. Okay. So first we will try to get the maximum range of beta. It has to be from 180 to whatever the maximum value you have evaluated. And then between these values, try to get a value which is left hand side is matching with the right hand side. And then you stop it at a particular iteration value. And then you calculate the conduction angle, which is equal to beta minus alpha, and that would be the conduction angle of that particular thyristor. Now, to evaluate the RMS output voltage, we have the formula V naught RMS is equal to V naught under the root sign 1 by pi beta minus alpha plus sine 2 alpha by 2 minus sine 2 beta by 2. The expression should be derived using the integral limit between alpha to beta because thyristor conducts between these 2 points. Next, substituting, we know we have taken beta. Okay, now this has to be in radians and alpha also is in radian. Whereas in trigonometric functions, substitute the degree value. See, if you don't take correct values here, you will end up with a wrong answer. And substitute it and solve it, and I'll be getting V naught RMS as 207.0445. That is at alpha equal to 60 degrees. So we got V naught RMS as 207, right? We just evaluated. We know the impedance value as 10.48 and the resistance as 10 ohms. Okay. And to calculate the input power factor, we know input power factor is output power upon input power. And output power is V naught RMS and I naught RMS, that is output current, is equal to output voltage RMS upon impedance. So we know both these values and I get I naught RMS. I evaluate P naught, which is I naught RMS squared into RL, and I get the value as 3901.716. Similarly, I will evaluate we know Vs is 230. Is is going to be same as output RMS. So substituting the value, right? So I will be getting power factor around 0.8 lagging. So in this particular video, we have been looking into the principles of phase control with respect to full controller and with inductive loads. And we have derived an expression for the RMS value of the output voltage and also seen the performance parameters with respect to the output current, the load current RMS, and the thyristor currents average as well as the RMS value. We have also looked into output RMS voltage, output RMS current, then we have seen the power factor, right? So so many other things we have seen, and we have done an example problem at the end of the video, towards the end of the video. So I thank you, and if you have any questions, do get back to me. Thank you so much.